Welcome to the Ultimate Sports Blog Podcast. Today is Thursday, August 30th, 2018. Today I'm going to recap last night's baseball games, look ahead to today's games, go over a big NFL trade, Aaron Rodgers' contract extension, although I talked about that yesterday, look ahead to tonight's preseason games, the final preseason games before the real thing gets started in about a week and a half from today. I'll go over the Heisman candidates that I think will be Heisman candidates. I will make predictions on where ESPN's GameDay is going to be held every week, so that should be a fun little exercise, and then I'll look back and see how I did from pretty much the start of the season until when the season's over. And then I'm going to do my picks for tonight's games on the college football slate. Alrighty, here we go. Baseball from yesterday. The Cubs defeated the Mets 2-1 in 11 innings in a game that was suspended from Tuesday night. Jesse Chavez gets the win, improves to 2-1. Paul Sewell gets the loss, drops to 0-5. Cubs improve to 78-53. The Mets drop to 58-74. The Astros defeated the Athletics 5-4 on a walk-off home run by Tyler White off of Jesus Familia, who was charged with the loss. Roberto Osuna charged with the win, improves to 2-2. Familia drops to 4-1. Oakland drops to 80-54. Houston improves to 82-51. The Royals defeat the Tigers 9-2 as they improve to 42-91. The Tigers drop to 53-80. Danny Duffy improves to 8-11. Michael Fulmer drops to 3-10. The Mets defeat the Cubs 10-3 in the second game of their sort of doubleheader as they improve to 59-74. The Cubs drop to 78-54. Jason Vargas improves to 5-8. Alec Mills drops to 0-1. The Padres defeated the Mariners 8-3 to complete the sweep as they improve to 52-83. Seattle drops to 74-59. Joey Lucchesi improves to 7-7. Erasmo Ramirez drops to 1-3. The Red Sox defeated the Marlins 14-6 as they improve to 92-42. Miami drops to 53-81. Tyler Thornburg improves to 2-0. Adam Conley drops to 3-4. The White Sox defeated the Yankees 4-1 as they improved to 53-80. The Yanks dropped to 84-49. Reynaldo Lopez improves to 5-9. CC Sabathia drops to 7-5. Jace Fry gets his fourth save of the year. The Orioles defeated the Blue Jays 10-5 to complete the sweep, their first three-game sweep of the season. As they improve to 40-94, Toronto drops to 60-73. Sean Gilmartin improves to 1-0. Danny Barnes drops to 2-2. Michael Givens gets his fifth save of the season. The Phillies defeated the Nationals 6-8. Huge win for Philadelphia. Good bounce-back win for them as they improve to 71-62. The Nats drop to 67-67. Seranthony Dominguez improves to 2-5. Jimmy Cordero drops to 1-1. Tommy Hunter gets his third save of the season. The Twins defeated the Indians 4-3 as they improve to 62-70. The Indians drop to 75-57. Trevor May improves to 3-0. Cody Allen drops to 4-6. Trevor Hildenberger gets his fifth save of the season. The Brewers defeated the Reds 13-12 in 10 innings as they improve to 74-60. The Reds drop to 57-76. Jared Jeffries improves to 7-1. Rafael Iglesias drops to 2-3. Christian Yelich went for the cycle in this game. The Rays defeated the Braves 8-5 as they improve to 71-62. Atlanta drops to 74-58. Jalen Beeks improves to 4-1. Sean Newcomb drops to 11-7. Jose Alvarado gets his sixth save of the year. The Dodgers defeated the Rangers 3-1 as they improve to 72-61. The Rangers drop to 58-76. Alex Wood improves to 8-6. Mike Minor drops to 10-7. Kenta Maeda gets his first save of the year. The Pirates defeated the Cardinals 2-0 as they improve to 65-68. The Cards drop to 74-59. Trevor Williams improves to 11-9. Miles Mikolas drops to 13-4. Felipe Vasquez gets his 28th save of the year. The Diamondbacks defeated the Giants 3-1 as they improve to 73-60. The Giants drop to 67-68. Zach Godley improves to 14-7. Derek Rodriguez drops to 6-2. Brad Boxberger gets his 30th save of the year. Today's game's about to get underway in 5 minutes. You have the Brewers and the Reds. Wade Miley and Cody Reed. 1 o'clock, Twins Indians. Jake Odorizzi and Mike Clevenger. 7 o'clock, Tigers Yankees. Francisco Liriano and Jay Happ. 7:15 Pirates Cardinals, Joe Musgrove and John Gant. 7:30 Cubs Braves, Mike Montgomery, Mike Falta units. 8 o'clock Red Sox White Sox, Rick Porcello and Lucas Giolito. Angels Astros, Andrew Heaney and Justin Verlander. 10 o'clock Mariners Athletics, Wade LeBlanc and Frankie Montas. Diamondbacks Dodgers, Robbie Ray and Rich Hill. Rockies Padres, Herman Marquez and Eric Lauer. So not many games on the slate tonight as everybody is traveling and whatnot. Teddy Bridgewater was traded yesterday from the New York Jets to the New Orleans Saints for a third-round pick. Jets also threw in a sixth-round pick in the deal as well. I think it was the right decision by the Jets to make this trade because Sam Darnold has to be your starter. And if Sam struggled, people would be calling for Bridgewater, so that takes some pressure off of Sam Darnold. You don't trade up for the number 3 pick in the draft to draft your franchise quarterback to sit out. So the Jets absolutely made the right decision there. And a nice solid backup for the Saints. And I heard a rumor yesterday that the backup that was originally their backup, Tom Savage, is also on the trade block. So we'll see if any other backup quarterbacks get traded. I know Brent Hundley was traded from the Packers to the Seahawks, so now Hundley will be backing up Russell Wilson. And DeShone Kizer wins the backup job for Green Bay as he'll back up Aaron Rodgers, who got massively paid yesterday. 4 years, $134 million extension. A lot of guaranteed money. I think I saw somewhere it was like 103 guaranteed, which is absolutely absurd. But at the same time, Rodgers is arguably the best player in the league. He deserves this money. Yes, he's been hurt a lot over the last few years, but that guy is an absolute difference maker. He's a game changer, and he keeps the Packers relevant in the NFC. Speaking of NFL, preseason week 4, so the preseason ends tonight. You have the Patriots and the Giants, the Dolphins and the Falcons, the Colts and the Bengals, the Jets and the Eagles, the Browns and the Lions at 7 o'clock. 7:30 you have the Redskins and the Ravens, the Panthers, Steelers, Jaguars, Buccaneers. 8 o'clock Vikings, Titans, Bills, Bears, Rams, Saints, Cowboys, Texans. 8:30 Packers, Chiefs. 10 o'clock Chargers, 49ers, Broncos, Cardinals, and Raiders, Seahawks. So those are your games for tonight. I don't expect any big names to be playing. I don't expect any quarterbacks, or veteran quarterbacks, I should say, to play. I don't expect Tom Brady to play. I don't expect Rodgers to play, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees. I don't expect any of those guys to play. I would expect Sam Darnold to play for the Jets and Josh Rosen to play. Maybe Mitch Trubisky. Maybe Jared Goff, because he hasn't really seen much preseason action, but maybe they'll sit him. I could see Teddy Bridgewater even getting some reps with the Saints tonight. He'll probably even get the start tonight for New Orleans. Josh Allen, I expect to see some action. I also expect Patrick Mahomes to see some action. So I just expect young quarterbacks and then the rookies. And I forgot to mention Lamar Jackson for the Ravens as well. So a lot of young quarterbacks, a lot of backups. Maybe some under-the-radar rookies that have a chance to advance higher on some depth charts. So we'll get into this more on tomorrow's podcast. Now I'm going to give you my Heisman finalists and candidates. I said on my college football predictions podcast that I think Tua Tagovailoa will be the Heisman winner. I expect him to get to start on Saturday night for the Crimson Tide. And the rest of my candidates, my other two candidates to go to New York are Trace McSorley from Penn State, and this one may surprise you, but Brandon Wimbush of Notre Dame. I really think Notre Dame's going to have a big year. They'll be knocking on the door to the college football playoff. I said on the predictions podcast that Notre Dame will be 10-0, and then they'll lose the season finale to USC, which would cost them a spot in the playoff. But that wouldn't cost Brandon Wimbush a spot in New York. I think Wimbush is going to have a monster season, running the ball and even throwing the ball too. I think that guy's a star. Rest of the Heisman candidates, 4 through 10. For Will Grier, the quarterback from West Virginia, I can easily see him winning the Heisman if West Virginia wins double-digit games, wins the Big 12, makes the college football playoff. I could see Grier winning the Heisman. The same goes for Bryce Love of Stanford, their running back. If Stanford overachieves this year, goes 9-3, 10-2, I can see Love in the conversation. 6, I have Jonathan Taylor of Wisconsin, same boat as Love. 7, Jake Browning of Washington, the quarterback. The next couple guys on the list are quarterbacks. 8 is Jake Fromm of Georgia. 9 is Justin Herbert of Oregon. And 10 is Khalil Tate of Arizona. And in the honorable mentions, I have 10 of them. Brian Lewerke, the quarterback of Michigan State. The next 3 guys about the list are defensive players, but they're the best players on their respective teams. Christian Wilkins, Nick Bosa, and Rashawn Gary. And all 3 of those teams in Clemson, Ohio State, and Michigan, in Gary's case, will be ranked for a majority of the season and will be playing in some of the bigger spotlight games this season, so I expect them to get some love as well. Rodney Anderson, the running back from Oklahoma, and some other random dark horse candidates. Nick Fitzgerald, the quarterback from Mississippi State. Jared Stidham, the quarterback of Auburn. Justice Hill, the star running back for Oklahoma State, who I expect to have a big season. I think Oklahoma State's going to be one of the surprises in the Big 12 this season. 19, Miles Daskin, the running back from Washington. And 20, I have J.K. Dobbins, the running back from Ohio State. Now I'm going to give you my predictions on where ESPN's College GameDay will be making appearances this year. I wanted to do this on a podcast a couple weeks ago, but I completely forgot. It was before they announced that Michigan at Notre Dame would be Week 1 GameDay. That wouldn't have been my prediction. My prediction would have been from Atlanta for Washington versus Auburn. That would have been my prediction, but they choose Michigan at Notre Dame, and I can see the reasons why, because they bring back the rivalry. South Bend hasn't had GameDay in 6 years, so it's deserving for this game. Don't get me wrong, but that wouldn't have been my guess. Week 2, I think they'll be at Stanford as they host USC. I expect both teams to be 1-0 going into that game. And this would be an absolute prove-it game for the USC Trojans as they look to prove some folks wrong in the Pac-12 and in the college football world this year. Week 3, I think they'll be in Arlington for Ohio State versus TCU. I think both those teams will be undefeated when they face off in Week 3. And plus, it's the last game before Urban Meyer returns. So there's some storylines there. I think TCU is a sleeper for the college football playoff. I know everybody loves West Virginia, but don't sleep on TCU in the Big 12. Week 4, I expect GameDay to take their show to Eugene for when Oregon hosts Stanford. So that'd be Stanford twice in a 2-week span. Week 5 is my lock pick, and that is from Happy Valley when Penn State hosts Ohio State. I think this is the early game of the year. I think the winner of this game goes to the college football playoff. This is an absolutely huge game. I remember 2 years ago, this was the stage where Saquon Barkley had his breakout game against Ohio State. And Trace McSorley and company have a big opportunity to get a huge win at home. And this is an absolute lock to be in prime time as well, with Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit on the call. Week 6, this was a bit of a tricky call, but I think they'll be heading to Starkville as Mississippi State hosts Auburn. Big game in the SEC West. I think both of these teams could be undefeated at the time when they meet. I think Mississippi State's going to have their best season in 4 years when Dak Prescott had his breakout year, and nobody expected them to be a contender, and they ended up being a contender. That was one of the greatest seasons I could remember in terms of college football. It was the first year of the playoff. Alabama was a little down. I remember they lost to Ole Miss. They won a couple close games, and then they ended up going on a run, making the playoff, and then they wound up losing to Ohio State in the playoff. And, of course, that was the year Braxton Miller got hurt, and then J.T. Barrett got hurt. Then Ohio State went on that magical run led by Cardale Jones and Ezekiel Elliott to win that championship. And obviously Marcus Mariota was still at Oregon. So there's a lot that has changed since then. Week 7, I expect them to be back at University Park as Penn State hosts Michigan State. I think there's a chance both of these teams to be undefeated at the time they meet. Week 8, I expect them to go to Fort Worth as TCU hosts Oklahoma. One of the bigger games in the Big 12 this year. Week 9, I think they'll go off the grind, maybe an FCS school or whatever, but I just can't pinpoint where, so I just say off grind. Week 10, I expect them to make a hard call. There's a lot of good options with games that are going to have significant meanings down the stretch, but I expect them to go to Seattle when Washington hosts Stanford. Week 11, same thing. A lot of tough calls. This is a bit of a ballsy call. It depends on if both of these teams are either both undefeated or both have one loss. One has 2 losses, one has 1 loss. One's undefeated, one has 1 loss. But I think they'll be headed to Morgantown when West Virginia hosts TCU. So that's 3 times with TCU. And I know that Ohio State goes to East Lansing that week, but then Ohio State would have had 3. So I wanted to go a little outside the box a little bit and give love to a team that I didn't pick yet, because I already had Michigan State at Penn State and then Ohio State already twice, although I have TCU already twice too. So let's just give the Mountaineers and Will Grier some love there. Week 12 was another tough call. I think they'll be going to Blacksburg as Virginia Tech will host Miami, 2 of the best teams in the ACC Coastal Division. If Virginia Tech exceeds expectations, I think there's a chance that the winner of this game will meet Clemson in the ACC title game. In Week 13, has a lot of great games, of course, Michigan, Ohio State among them. But every year, GameDay goes to Tuscaloosa. So you got to give the Iron Bullets due. Auburn might have 2 or 1 loss by then. Alabama will probably be undefeated. So I expect them to be in Tuscaloosa Week 13 for the Iron Bowl as Auburn goes to Tuscaloosa to take on the Crimson Tide. And in Week 14, I expect them to be at the SEC Championship game. Georgia and Alabama might both be undefeated at the time. So that was an easy call there. Now I'm going to do my Week 1 picks just for tonight. I'm going to save tomorrow and Saturday's picks for tomorrow's podcast. I'm going to give you the game, the line, who I'm picking straight up. And I'll give you the over-under, and then I'll give you my little gambling play, whether it's the over-under or the point spread. All right. 21st ranked UCF at Connecticut. UCF is giving 23.5. The over-under is 70. I'm taking UCF straight up, and I'm taking over 70 as the gambling pick. Central Connecticut at Ball State. Ball State is giving 14 points. The over-under is 61.5. I'm taking Ball State straight up, and I'm taking the minus 14. Kennesaw State at Georgia State. Kennesaw State is actually giving 1.5, a rare instance where you see the FCS team giving points at an FBS team. But I'm going to take the underdog with Georgia State. The over-under is 43. And I'm going to take the 1.5. New Mexico State at Minnesota. Minnesota is giving 21. I'm taking Minnesota straight up, and I'm taking over 45.5. Northwestern at Purdue. Purdue is giving a point. The over-under is 53. I'm taking Purdue straight up, and this is my best bet of the night, which is Purdue -1. So it's basically a pick 'em there. Wake Forest at Tulane. Wake Forest is giving 6.5. The over-under is 55. I am taking Wake Forest, and I am laying the 6.5. Savannah State at UAB. UAB is giving 34 points. The over-under is 54.5. I am taking UAB straight up, and I am taking the over 54.5. Missouri State at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is minus 36.5. The over-under is 73. I'm obviously taking the Cowboys straight up, and I'm taking the over 73. Weber State at Utah. Utah is giving 23 points. The over-under is 48.5. I'm taking Utah straight up and the minus 23. Southeastern Louisiana at Louisiana. Louisiana is giving 15.5. The over-under is 74. I'm taking Louisiana straight up and the minus 15.5. Northwestern State at Texas A&M. A&M's giving 43. The over-under is 63.5. I'm taking Texas A&M and the over 63.5. Last but not least, UC Davis at San Jose State. San Jose State's laying only 2 points. The over-under is 69. I'm taking the Spartans straight up, and I think they'll cover the 2. That's it for today's podcast. I'll be back tomorrow recapping all the baseball games, looking ahead to tomorrow's games, talking about the NFL preseason games from the final slate of preseason games. I'll give you my picks for tomorrow night and Saturday and even Sunday and Monday for college football. And I'll talk about everything else that happens in the world of sports. I hope you guys have a great day, everybody.